Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Namaste to all future gadgeted officer, IS, IPS, doctors. In today's video, we continue our journey through gastrointestinal tract with part 2 where we will focus on the stomach, its part, layers and peritoneal connection with other organs as well as its arterial supply and venous drainage. I will also be explaining the 12 important digestive enzymes and their roles in breaking down our food, their role in digestive system. If you are new in my channel has many English grammars series for different type of competitive exam like SSC, SBI, IBPS, ACIO, CDS, NDA, UPSC, BPSC, and different types of competitive exam. So many grammar series are already in my channel. Upcoming videos include subject verb agreement part 1, words often confused part 3, and clauses part 2. For NEET student, AIMS student, UPSC, BPSC students, I have already uploaded many detailed biology content, and tomorrow I will be uploading again gastrointestinal tract part 3, in which I am explaining about accessory glands. I Today I have uploaded weekly science and technology current affairs and upcoming topics, RNA interference and its application in agriculture will be going to upload it in within few days. I hope after watching this video, I hope this video definitely help you in your competitive exam or different grammar series and current affairs series, help you in different types of competitive exam preparation, whether you are studying for NEET, AIMS, UPSC, BPSC, state PCS, SBI, SSC, IBPS, ACIO, etc. So don't forget to check out my other English grammar series and weekly science and technology current affairs for different types of competitive preparation. Gastrointestinal tract part 3 will be uploaded tomorrow, so make sure you don't miss it. After watching this video, if you found this video is useful, beneficial, kindly like, share and subscribe to my channel, that is at the rate Reena Singh classes, and press the bell icon so you get notified as soon as the next video is live. So let's dive into today's detailed explanation of the stomach and digestive enzymes. Food intake, whatever the food we are taking, carbohydrate, proteins, fats, these are all complex molecules, macromolecules. It should be broken down into simpler ones with the help of alimentary canal, digestive tract, or gastrointestinal tract. So protein is converted into amino acid. Protein synthesis take place, which plays an important role, which is known as a building block of our life for repair and growth of different tissue. Complex carbohydrate broken down into glucose and energy production, ATP, which is used in different type of metabolic process, that is a anabolic constructive reaction and catabolic destructive reaction. Fat, that is triglyceride we are consuming, so it is converted into glycerol and fatty acid, and then lipid synthesis and storage take place. An extra amount of complex carbohydrate which is stored in the liver and muscle in the form of glycogen. In the for protein synthesis, there is a cannibalization of muscle tissue take place when you are in starvation process and you did not get the proper amount of fuel. If you do not get the proper amount of energy from the food you have taken, or you are in starvation, you did not get the food, so that time cannibalization take place, means muscle breakdown take place to give you energy to do all vital activities. So these are about the process, the simple way, and we are going to learn about all the processes. In mouth we are intaking the food, the process is known as a ingestion. In the process we are reducing and sticking together all the molecules, the complex carbohydrate, and it becomes bolus in our mouth and then pass through esophagus, process is peristalsis, then it enters into the stomach and it becomes chyme, and further size reduction and acidification take place. And in this case, a stomach, the main enzyme plays role is pepsin, and in mouth, the main enzyme plays role is salivary amylase or ptyalin. Stomach, the main enzyme is pepsin, which mostly act on the digestion of protein. In mouth, the digestion of carbohydrate, complex carbohydrate will start. Then after the stomach, this food chyme travels into the duodenum, then to the other part of the small intestines where the digestion of food complete digestion of food take place, and absorption of nutrients take place from the digestive tube into the body. And from the colon, it passes to the colon, large intestine, and from anus, it will be egested out in the form of feces, and absorption take place. All the important water and electrolytes are absorbed through the blood vessel and nutrients, blood vessel and lymph, and then it afterward it is assimilation process take place, that is it is transferred to the different body tissue to do all the vital activities, and then at last the feces form, that is processes egestion and excretion. So five step in human digestive system: egestion, digestion, absorption, assimilation, and then egestion. One is ingestion. In is ingestion, when you are ingesting food, and egestion, excreting out food from your body in the form of feces. So, how does the stomach work with the rest of gastrointestinal tract? We have learned about the mouth, we have learned about esophagus in our first part of gastrointestinal tract. Now we are going to learn about the stomach, and the next part we will learn is small intestine, large intestine, and rectum. So, the stomach have digestive juices and hydrochloric acid which help in breaking down of food, and the digestion of protein is start in the stomach, and digestion of carbohydrate is start in the mouth. With the help of enzyme in mouth is salivary amylase or ptyalin. In stomach, the enzyme is pepsin. So it holds full until it is ready to empty out into your small intestine. So stomach, digestive tract, three parts: stomach, small intestine, large intestine. The three parts: stomach, large intestine, small intestine, then it passes to the large intestine. So stomach is the first part of digestive tract. Today we are going to learn about the all the structure, anatomy, function of stomach. So food bolus from the esophagus, from the food pipe, enters the stomach. So kindly watch the first part if you have not watched the first part of gastrointestinal tract. Because the food bolus pass from the esophagus uh, windpipe with the help of peristaltic movement and enters the stomach. The stomach is a dilated portion, means it is a dilated one of portion of digestive tract where food is broken down into, and it food has again broken down food, and partial digestion of food take place in the stomach. So it receive the food from the esophagus, and that is the semi broken food, that is a bolus. Name is bolus, with the help of esophagus. So with the esophagus, it retained bolus, macerated, and the food is partially digested, means broken down into. Macerated means making food soft. There is a presence of pyloric sphincter, which is present at the lower end of the stomach. I'm explaining everything in detail. No need to worry. I'm just in the next slide you will learn where is pyloric sphincter. So there is a presence of pyloric sphincters present at the lower end of the stomach, which prevent the passage of food until it is converted into a thick semi-liquid paste or pulp, which is known as a chyme. So pyrolic sphincter, which is present at the lower, where it is present at the lower end of stomach. So what is the function? Its function is to prevent the passage of food until it is converted into chyme, semi-liquid paste or pulp. About pH of solid is generally acidic because of the presence of hydrochloric acid. There is part of alimentary canal and pH, oral cavity 6.5, 7.5, stomach 1 to 2 because of presence of hydrochloric acid, duodenum 6 to 6. Ileum, cecum, ascending colon, transverse colon, descending colons. So stomach is a J-shaped organ that digests food, and it produces enzymes that creates the helps in chemical reaction, and it has digestive juices, presence of hydrochloric acid. Enzymes, in the stomach, there is a presence of gastric juices, is also known as digestive juices. Enzyme name is pepsin. So the mix of this enzyme and digestive juices, which is gastric juices, help the breakdown of bolus food into chyme. So it can pass to your small intestine to large intestine, first part toward large intestine. So stomach is a part of gastrointestinal tract. The GI tract is a long tube which start from the mouth and end in your anus. GI tract is a part of your digestive system. So what is the function of a stomach? It has three functions. It store food for time being, temporarily store food, contract and relax to mix and break down food. So partial digestion of food take place in the stomach. From bolus to it becomes chyme. From mouth, the food becomes bolus with the help of saliva. The food become moistened and broken down into partially digested, and then it passes from esophagus with the help of a sphincter muscle. It enters stomach. So stomach, it becomes chyme. Stomach produces enzymes and other specialized cell to digest food. So a specialized cell we are going to learn. Stomach sit in your upper abdomen on the left side of left side. Stomach is located on in your upper abdomen on the left side of your body. The top of your stomach connects to a valve which is called esophageal sphincter. So top it's connect to the esophageal sphincter. In muscle, there is a presence of many sphincters in your body. Two types of sphincter also I'm going to explain. So esophageal sphincter, a muscle at the end of your esophagus, and bottom of the stomach connects to your small intestine, to first part of a small intestine, that is duodenum. So size of the stomach depend upon the person to person heights. Stomach expands when you full and deflates when empty. So when it full, it expands, and it contract when it is empty. So deflates when empty. So stomach size can vary depending, no, it's totally depending on how recently and how much you have eaten. So depend upon the size of a stomach. Stomach is divided into 5 basic parts. So the main thing we are going to start, that is stomach is divided into 5 basic parts. Cardia, fundus, body, antrum, pylorus. Cardia, the foremost, look at the image. Cardia is cardia. Cardia, here is a sphincters, esophageal sphincters, and there is a presence of cardia, which is nearest to the esophagus. Cardia. Then the fundus. This area is known as a fundus, is the main part of the stomach, which is present between the upper and lower part of the stomach. Fundus is present between the upper and lower part of the stomach, which is the main part of the cardia is followed by fundus. Cardia is followed by fundus, and it forms the upper part of the stomach. Fundus is upper part of the stomach. Cardia near to esophagus, fundus upper part of stomach. Body is also known as corpus. Body is also known as corpus. It is main part of a stomach. Body is main part of a stomach. It is present between upper and lower part. It means between fundus and antrum. So distal part, lower part is antrum, which is near to the intestine, which is near to the first part of intestine, that is duodenum, and it help in mixing the food with gastric juices, because in an antrum there is a presence of gastric juices. Pyrolus, last part of a stomach. Pyrolus is last part of a stomach that act as a regulator to control the emptying of the stomach. From here, the stomach chyme is passing to the small intestine. So pyrolus is the last part of the stomach, which helps in passing the chyme into the small intestine. So there is a presence of gland in this area also. So gland in the cardiac region secrete mucus. Gland in the cardiac region secrete mucus. Gland in the fundus and body. Gland in the fundus and body include mucous neck cell, which secretes parietal cell, oxyntic cell, parietal cell also called oxyntic cell, which secrete hydrochloric acid, parietal cell, oxyntic cell, which secrete HCl, and gastric intrinsic factor, and chief cell, which secrete pepsinogens. I'm going to explain everything slowly. So glands in the cardiac region, which is near to the esophagus, secrete mucus. Glands in the fundus and body include mucous neck cell, which secretes mucus, parietal oxyntic cell, which secrete HCl, and gastric intrinsic factor, chief cell, and chief cell help in secreting pepsinogen. Glands in the pyloric region secrete mucus. So mucus is the last region of the stomach which emptied chyme into the small intestine first part, that is a duodenum. So how to remember mnemonic is chalo friends, bam. Bam, bap. Chalo friends, bap. Bap hua means father. Bap body. A antrum. P pylorus. Chalo friends. C for chalo cardia. F fundus friends. And bap body. Antrum. A and P pylorus. So mostly you have to remember that gland in the fundus and body secretes the upper part and middle part secretes mucous neck cell, which secrete mucus, parietal oxyntic cell, which secrete hydrochloric acid, gastric intrinsic factor, chief cell, which secretes pepsinogen. Now we are going to learn about different types of sphincters muscle and its type. It is a ring type muscle that that can contract to close a passage or open, which it helps in contraction so that the passage is open or close. So it's regulating the flow of substance. There is a presence of sphincters muscle throughout the body. So what is the function of a sphincter muscle? It helps in contractions. With the help of this contraction, it open or close and it regulate the flow of different types of substances. So they are mostly involuntary. They are made up of a smooth muscle, which is controlled by autonomic nervous system. It means it is not controlled by our will. And few sphincter muscle are voluntary, which is made up of skeletal muscle, which is controlled by our will, our conscious. So sphincter muscle are both involuntary and voluntary. So types are, first is anal sphincters. Anal sphincters, involuntary smooth muscle, which is responsible for 80% of resting anal tone and continence for ejection excretion. So external, it is of types is internal anal sphincters and external. Look at the image. External anal sphincters and internal anal sphincters. And external one is voluntary skeletal, because it is made up of a skeletal muscle. It consists control over bowel movements. Internal anal sphincter muscle is involuntary, which is responsible for 80% of resting and tone and continence. Next muscle is pubi rectalis. Look at the image, pubi rectalis. Pubi rectalis is a very important muscle when you are sitting on the pelvic floor muscle. Pubi rectalis is a pelvic floor muscle which is forming a U-shaped sling around the rectum. So it is your rectum, and it is pubic bone, and it is forming U-shaped structure around the rectum. Structure around the rectum. Rectum, pubic bone, U-shaped structure. So it is a pubic bone uh, muscle, pubi rectalis. So it is plays important role in maintaining fecal continence by maintaining a bend between the rectum and the canal. So it maintaining a bend between the rectum and canal. So this muscle is a part of pelvic bone muscle, means that name is levator any muscle, pelvic bone muscle, and this muscle is known as the this pubirectalis muscle, specifically known as levator any muscle group. Levator may any muscle group, which is essential for voluntary and involuntary control of bowel movements. So this muscle, this anal sphincters allow you to give out stool and help you in excretion or ejection of feces. Next is urethral sphincters. Look at the image. Internal urethral sphincters, external urethral inspectors. So internal always involuntary, external voluntary. So internal one located at the urinary bladder. You look at the image. It located at the urinary bladder. Neck contributes to urinary continence, controlling your urine. Now, external urethral sphincters is voluntary. It allows control over urination. So, urethral sphincters control the flow of urine from the bladder, from the urinary bladder. So, he'll help in to passing out the bladder when you want to urinate or not want to urinate. Next is esophageal sphincter. Esophageal sphincter, again, it is the upper and lower sphincters. So, upper esophageal sphincters, look at the image. Upper one is located between the pharynx and esophagus. Upper between the pharynx and esophagus, between your throat and esophagus. It relaxes during when you take any food, when you swallow any food to pass into the food pipe, and it also help in preventing that food backflow. So upper esophageal sphincters present between your throat, your pharynx and esophagus. When you take any food, when you consume any food, during swallowing, it relaxes, and it allows foods to pass into the food pipe, and it also prevents backflow. It should not be backflow. Next one is the lower esophageal sphincters, which is also known as lower esophageal sphincter, is also known as cardiac sphincter. It is present at the junction. It is near stomach, na? So it is between the junction of esophagus and stomach. So it prevents stomach acid for refluxing into the esophagus. So what is the need of a sphincter? The question is arises. It just like there is a presence of valve in human heart, na? So in human heart also there is prevent the backflow of blood. Same is sphincters muscle prevent the backflow of any materials. It does not allow anything material to backflow. So lower esophageal sphincters prevent the backflow of food from stomach to the esophagus. So it prevent reflux. Reflux means just showing you the diagram, and then afterward I'm explaining. Food pipe, esophagus, and there is the esophageal, lower esophageal sphincters. And if there is some reflux take place when you consume any foods, and this food can reverse back to your esophagus. So that time what happened? It is called reflux. Reflux means some amount of this acidic foods enters into your esophagus. Sometime when you feel that sourness and bitterness is coming into your mouth and backflow, and you feel choking and burning sensation in your throat and neck because of this reflux. Because of this reflux, and sometimes it causes inflammation in esophagus also, esophagealitis. So this is the reason there is a presence of sphincters in everywhere between the two organs, so that it prevent backflow of any substances. Next is pyloric sphincters. Pyloric sphincters, look at the image. It is located at the bottom of a stomach. So we have learned about the anal sphincters and then esophageal sphincters. Then we have learned, we are learning about pyloric sphincters. So between the stomach and abdomen, small intestine, between stomach and small intestine. Again, it passes from one part to the another digestive tract part. There is also a sphincter muscle to prevent the backflow, and the name of that sphincter muscle is pyloric sphincters. So it is located at the bottom of a stomach, so that the acidic duodenum, from duodenum the food will not prevent back to the stomach, will not return back to the stomach. So it acts as a valve, just same like human heart valve. So it controls the flow of partially digested food, that is chyme of the stomach, into the small intestine. So it prevent backflow. So it is mostly the use of pyloric, different types of sphincters in our body. So location of pyloric sphincter is, it is located at the end of a stomach, pyloric canal, where it connects to the small intestine first part, that is duodenum. So it is made up of thick layer of smooth muscle. It means it is involuntary, and this muscular ring surround the pyloric orifice. A pyloric orifice is the opening between the stomach and duodenum. The opening between the stomach and duodenum is called pyloric orifice. What are the function of these pyloric sphincters, which prevent the backflow of chyme into the intestine, into the backflow into the stomach? So it controlled release. It regulate the movement of chyme from the stomach into the duodenum. It goes straight, not backflow. So it allows amount of chyme to pass through at a time, ensuring proper digestion, proper absorption take place in your small intestine, in the small intestine. It prevents reflux, means it prevents backflow of intestinal contents into the, because intestinal content is alkaline, so it prevents the backflow of intestinal contents into the stomach, which could lead to irritation and discomfort to you if backflow will happen. Same backflow from stomach to esophagus, you feel irritation, discomfort. If there may be backflow from a small intestine to stomach, again the reflex will cause many types of problem. So the sphincter's activity is influenced. These activities all wherever the sphincter muscle present in our body, it is influenced by both central and entering nervous system as well as hormones. Entering nervous system is associated with the gastrointestinal tract, which I will explain in next video. Now, esophagus, cardia, the reason we have learned cardia reason, esophagus, near the esophagus, fungus, head of the stomach, body part, corpus, pyrolus, and then pyrolus parts. So these are the about. Now next is about the next muscle is next sphincter muscle is ileocecal sphincter muscle. I'm explaining this all because of the reason when we will learn all the alimentary canal or digestive tract, we have to know what is the process. So this is the reason I have explained before. So ileocecal sphincter is also known as ileocecal valve. Ileocecal sphincter is also known as ileocecal valve. It is a muscular ring-like structure which control the flow of material from the ileum. Ileum is the last part of a small intestine into the cecum, the beginning of the large intestine. So ileum, beginning of this large intestine is cecum. Cecum, colon, cecum. First is the cecum. Okay, so it just control the control the flow of material from last part of the material, whatever the material, it's going to the where because the final digestion take place in the small intestine. So there is a need of also sphincter muscle, and the name of that ileocecal muscle is ileocecal sphincter, and also known as ileocecal valve. So it controls the flow of material from the ileum, which is a large part of a small intestine, into the colon, which is the first part of the large intestine. So given colon, ascending colon, ascending colon, descending colon, and cecum is the beginning of large intestine. So cecum, colon, rectum, anus. These are about the large intestine. Now, location, it is present, it regulate the passage of digestive material from small intestine into the large intestine. So it will not travel to the Large intestines. So ileum is the last part. What are the part of the small intestine? Duodenum, jejunum, ileum. Duodenum, jejunum, ileum. So ileum is the last part of a small intestines. From last part of a small intestine, ileum, it will not go back to the beginning of a large intestine. Cecum, colon, rectum, anus. So there it prevent reflex prevention. It reflex means do not return back to the first last part of a small intestine, that is ileum, and it transit control for proper absorption of nutrients and water in the small intestine will be taken place. It is composed of circular muscle fibers from both the ileum and the cecum, and it function as a sphincter's muscle. Now, next is a sphincter pupillae. So, pupillae, it is not present in our alimentary canal. It is present in our eye. But I'm explaining about the different types of sphincters muscle. So I have included this also. It is found in our iris of the eye, which gives different types of iris colors to the eye. It controls pupil size in response to light. So what are the this sphincter muscle is sphincter pupillae. There is also presence of blood flow into the capillaries, and that sphincter muscle is precapillary sphincters, which is involuntary made up of smooth muscle, regulate blood flow into capillaries. Next one, which is associated with our alimentary canal, is sphincter of Oddi, which is associated with bile and pancreatic. It control the release of bile and pancreatic juices into the duodenum, into the first part of a small intestine, duodenum, jejunum, ileum. So first part of a small intestine is duodenum. So sphincter of Oddi present at the first part of a small intestine. It could control the release when there is a bile and pancreatic juice are coming from the liver and pancreas. So there is also need of a sphincter's muscle, and that sphincter muscle is sphincter of Oddi, which is a muscular valve located at the end of bile and pancreatic duct, where they enter the duodenum. Sphincter of Oddi. Sphincter of Oddi. Sphincter of Oddi. So it is a muscular valve located at the end of bile and pancreatic duct, end of bile duct and bile duct, and where they bile duct and pancreatic duct located at the end of this duct, and they enter the first part of a small intestine, duodenum. So its secretion will enters into the duodenum, and there is a need of again sphincter muscle, and name is sphincter of Oddi, so that it prevent reflux. It regulates bile and pancreatic juice flow, the release of this pancreatic juice and bile into the duodenum at the appropriate times during digestion. It prevent reflux. It help in gallbladder feeling also. It also maintain the pressure gradient that allow bile to be stored in the gallbladder before any meals. It is an image. Look at the image, the stomach image, cardiac part of a stomach, fundus part of a stomach. There is a presence of spleen in your body, greater curvature, lesser curvature, angular notch, incisor, pyloric antrum, pyloric canal, pyloric part of a stomach. It is duodenum, first part of a stomach, duodenum, intestine, first part of it, sorry, it is first part of a small intestine. Duodenum is first part of a small intestine. There is a presence of pyloric in sphincters in here between esophagus and stomach. There is a presence of esophageal in sphincters to prevent reflux. Then gallbladder and liver, there is a presence of sphincter of Oddi. Then quadrate, there is a presence of liver, left lobe of liver, and there is a presence of falciparum ligament, which a peritoneum muscle, which help in the division of both left and right liver, and it also help connecting the liver anteriorly to the abdomen and to the diaphragm. So it is a function of falciparum ligament, which divides liver into two parts, this ligament, and attach liver anteriorly to the abdomen and diaphragm. So now we are going to learn about the visceral relationship with the stomach. So relation of anterior surface to stomach. Anteriorly, stomach is where it is linked. So the left half of the surface is related to the diaphragm and rib cage. Just to remember only, right side of your stomach is linked with the gastric filling of left lobe of liver and near the pylorus to the quadrant lobe of levers. So on the right side, there is a gastric filling of left lobe of levers. Left lobe of liver. So here in the image here, right side of liver given, right kidney is given. On the right side in this image, left kidney, left is given. So right side of your stomach, there is a presence of left kidney, left liver and near the pylorus of quadrate lobe of liver. In left side of your stomach, it is near to diaphragm and rib cage. Lower part, look at the image, lower part of a stomach, which is associated with anterior abdominal wall. Gastric triangle, what is gastric triangle? It is your stomach. Look at the image, dot, 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 stomach. So it is a triangular area of a stomach in contact together with the anterior abdominal wall. It is bonding the left side of the left cost margin, left cost margin. On the right side by the lower border of liver and inferiorly by down. Inferior means down, inferior by transverse colon. So when there is gastrotomy done in stomach, so in entire esophageal, if there is obstruction in esophagus, gastronomy is done in this area to feed the patient, to give food to the patient. Relation to the posterior part with the stomach is associated with posteriorly diaphragm, left kidney, left suprarenal gland, pancreas, transverse mesocolon, left colic flexor, splenic artery, spleen. Mnemonic is Dr. S3 kills patient mercilessly. Dr. S3 kills patient mercilessly. Dr. D is diaphragm, diaphragm, S3 splenic artery, suprarenal gland left and splenic flexor, K for kidney, P for pancreas, M for mesocolon transverse. So posteriorly at stomach is posterior abdominal wall. We jointly create the stomach bed. It looks like a stomach bed posteriorly. So it these structure are combined with diaphragm, then with the left kidney, then with the left kidney, then with the left kidney, posteriorly, left kidney, then left suprarenal gland. Suprarenal gland means the upper part of left kidney, and left adrenal gland, which is situated behind the stomach. Points should be noted. Adrenal gland, left kidney are situated behind your stomach. Pancreas, the body and tail of pancreas lie directly behind the stomach. The body and tail of pancreas lie directly behind the stomach, which is separated by omental bursa. Transverse mesocolon is a fold of peritoneum ligament that suspend the transverse colon, which is a part of large intestine, from the posterior abdominal wall. So it has blood vessel, nerves and lymphatic supply. The transverse colon and also divide the abdominal cavity is divide transverse mesocolon into supracolic and infracolic compartments. So look at the image transverse mesocolon. So it is associated with the transverse colon of large intestine. Posteriorly, it is also connected with the splenic flexor of colon, large intestine, then splenic artery, which runs along the posterior aspect of pancreas, close to the stomach. It also connected with the spleen posteriorly to the stomach. Spleen is located laterally and posteriorly to the stomach. In the image in the previous slide, I have shown you posteriorly to the stomach, and its upper border often connects the stomach. Now we are going to learn about various type of digestive enzymes which are involved in the digestion of food. For example, amylase, protease, pepsin, trypsin, chymotrypsin, carboxypeptidase. These are the enzymes involved in the digestion. So first one is the salivary amylase. Salivary amylase, which we have learned in the first part of gastrointestinal tract video. So salivary amylase produced, place of production is salivary glands, and a site of release is mouth. It is released into mouth, and function is it begin the production of breaking down of starches, means carbohydrate, complex carbohydrates. So points should be noted that digestion of carbohydrate starch is started in your mouth because of the secretion of saliva, and the name of that enzyme is salivary amylase, and it converts that starch and complex carbohydrate into simple sugars inside your mouth. Next is pepsin, which is produced by chief cell of stomach. Pepsin is, I'm explaining about this chief cell also. Just to point, it is very important to know first different types of enzymes. Then you will not confuse all the processes. So pepsin is produced by chief cell of the stomach, and site of release is the stomach. Pepsin, a very important role in stomach, and PP pepsin. P for pepsin, P for protein. So it help in breaking down a protein. So digestion of protein start in your stomach, and it help in breaking down protein into smaller pieces, and protein becomes peptide and amino acid. Protein becomes peptide and amino acid. So pepsin is produced first in an inactive form, and that is known as pepsinogen. When it is breakdown and when it is produced, it is pepsin is produced in an inactive form. It is called pepsinogen. It becomes active when it comes into contact with the acidic environment of a stomach because of hydrochloric acids. So pepsin is produced in an inactive form in your stomach and called pepsinogen. When there is a presence of hydrochloric acid in your stomach, so when it come in contact with the acid, hydrochloric acid, it becomes active and help in the digestion of protein into peptides and amino acid. So these are the pepsin is primary enzymes which involve in the digestion of proteins, cleaving protein into smaller peptide chains and amino acids. So pepsinogen is inactive precursor which is converted to pepsin in the presence of hydrochloric acid. Stomach acid is very important because the question will come why there is a need of hydrochloric acid, or a stomach should be stomach is acidic. What is the importance? The importance is that protein is not digested if the stomach is not acidic. So there is a urgent need, there is a need of hydrochloric acid, acidic environment of a stomach, so that the pepsin become pepsinogen, which is an inactive form. It becomes active because of this hydrochloric acid. So pepsin is the main stomach enzyme, which is for protein digestion. Other enzymes like lipase for fat digestion, protease for breaking down. Various proteases are also involved in breaking down of proteins and involved in digestion in other part of digestive system such as small intestine. Next is gastric lipase. It is also secreted by chief cell of stomach. So pepsin secreted by chief cell of stomach, gastric lipase also secreted by chief cell of stomach, and its site of release is stomach. Its primary function is to help the breakdown of fats into smaller molecules, mean fats into fatty acid and glycerol. Specifically, complex fat, that is a triglyceride, into fatty acid and glycerol. So even though it contributes less compared to pancreatic lipase, there is a presence of in lipase in pancreas also, and in stomach gastric lipase important is less. It is especially important for babies because babies totally depend on breast milk, mother milk. So gastric lipase is less important than pancreatic lipase because pancreatic lipase help in the emulsification of fat. It is especially important for small children who is taking mother's milk, breast milk. Next is trypsin. Trypsin, just point to remember, it is very important enzyme which is secreted by pancreas and and it release into small intestine. Trypsin is produced by pancreas and released into small intestine. Trypsin is very important role in the digestion of protein by breaking them into smaller fragments or amino acids. So trypsin is produced. Trypsin is important for digestion of proteins which help in breaking down the protein. Last digestion take place in the small intestine. Digestion is will complete in the small intestine. So in the small intestine there is a presence in the stomach, there is a presence of pepsin for digestion of protein. Then afterward the chyme moves to the your small intestine, so that protein is again to be fully digested. So there is a presence of trypsin which is produced by pancreas and released into small intestine, and then final digestion of protein take place. So trypsin is produced as trypsinogen, and an inactive enzyme that is activated upon reaching the small intestine. So trypsin is produced as trypsinogen by pancreas, and when it is an inactive enzymes, when it comes to small intestine, it becomes activated and it needs alkaline environments. Now next, it needs alkaline environments. Next enzyme is chymotrypsin. It is produced by pancreas again, and it released to small intestine. It is helping breaking down a protein also. Chymotrypsin cut peptide bonds by targeting aromatic amino acid like phenylalanine, tryptophan, tyrosine. So chymotrypsin plays important role in synthesis of and digestion of aromatic amino acid like phenylalanine, tryptophan, and tyrosine. So chymotrypsin is produced in the pancreas again in inactive form, which is known as a chymotrypsinogen, and it becomes active in the small intestine. So points should be noted. The chymotrypsin is required in a small intestine to break peptide bond of aromatic amino acids. Now next is enzyme is carboxypeptidase. Carboxypeptidase is produced by pancreas and released into small intestines. It also break a peptide bond at the carboxyl C terminal end of a protein or peptide, thus help in the digestion of protein. Next enzyme is pancreatic lipase, which is also produced by pancreas and released into a small intestines. Its again function is the digestion of dietary fat by breaking down into simpler fatty acid and glycerol. So these are the enzymes which are secreted by the pancreas. Trypsin, chymotrypsin for aromatic amino acid, trypsin for protein, carboxypeptidase for breaking down carboxyl C terminal end of a protein or peptide, pancreatic lipase, which plays important role in digestion of fat, breaking down into simpler fatty acid, and glycerol. So this is the reason pancreatic lipase is called pancreatic triglycerol lipase. Next enzyme is pancreatic amylase, which is also produced by pancreas, released into small intestine, and its important function is to help in the breakdown of complex carbohydrate. So the digestion of starch or carbohydrate is started in the mouth. then it has to be completed in the small intestine, because full digestion is completed in the small intestine. So for this, there is a need of pancreatic amylase, which converts the complex carbohydrates such as starch and glycogen into simpler sugars like glucose, which the body can easily absorb. Glucose to convert the complex carbohydrate, starch and glycogen into simpler sugars like glucose. And glucose the body can easily, simple sugar body can easily absorb through blood vessel and lymph, and then it is assimilated for different body activities. Then again, nuclease, which is also secreted by pancreas, released into small intestine, help in breaking down nucleic acids such as DNA, RNA into nucleotides, their components. So these are, and again, the next is maltase, which is secreted by intestinal wall and released into small intestine, and it help in break down maltose, which is a type of sugar, into simple sugar glucose that our bodies can use. Lactose is which is secreted by introcyte cell in intestinal wall. Introcyte cell I'm going to explain again in the next slide. So introcyte cell of intestinal wall secrete lactase, released into small intestine, and it is responsible for breaking, lactase is responsible for breaking down lactose, when the sugar present in your milk, whatever the milk you are consuming, and into glucose and galactose. So it is a bisaccharide. So lactose divided into glucose and galactose with the help of lactose. So people with lactose intolerance, many people have the problem with the when they will consume milk products. So because they are having the lactose intolerance, these type of people are not having lactase enzyme. This is the reason that people consume milk product, they will suffer the problem. So lactose intolerance lack this enzyme, lactase enzyme, leading to many type of digestive problems. Next is sucrase. Sucrase is secreted by again by intestinal wall. So three intestinal wall secretion is maltase, lactase, sucrase. Maltase, lactase, sucrase. Small intestine secretion all are. So sucrase again act on sucrose, a common sugar, bisaccharides into glucose and fructose. So now we are going to learn about the parts of a small stomach anatomy, cardia, fundus, body, antrum, pylorus. We have learned all that. I explain everything. So cardia have cardiac sphincters muscle, which prevents food from traveling back your esophagus. Fundus, I explain this. This portion is the upper dome shape, which help that shape muscle that help you breathe also. Then again is the body part, which is the largest part of the stomach, which help in contraction and mixing of chyme food. Then next is the antrum. Antrum is the below the body, which hold foods until your stomach is ready to send it to your small intestine. Next part is pylorus, which is the bottom part of your stomach. This ring of there is a presence of ring of tissue which help your stomach to move this chyme to small intestine. So the mnemonic is chalo friends bap. So, now about we are going to learn about the stomach structure, several layers of muscle and other tissues present in your stomach. Look at the image: mucosa layer, submucosa, muscularis, serosa layers. Mucosa is the inner lining. Mucosa stomach is in the stomach's inner linings. When your stomach is empty, when you have not eaten anything or you are in fast, the mucosa has a small ridges which is known as a rugi. Empty. At that time, the stomach has a small ridges, rugi. When your stomach is full, if you have eaten a lot, the mucosa expands. This mucosa expand and ridges flatten. These are the ridges. These ridges flatten when you have eaten a lot. Now, next about the submucosa. Submucosa connects connective tissue, blood vessel, lymph vessel. So, submucosa contains blood vessel, lymph vessel. So, it is a submucosa point to very important point to be remembered. Submucosa is a part of lymphatic system and nerve cell. So it covers and protect the inner layer mucosa. Next is the muscularis externa. It is a primary muscle of your stomach. It has three layers that contracts and relax, that help in contraction and relaxation of muscle and also the breakdown of food. Last is the outermost layer which cover the stomach is serosa layer. So the stomach layer is given the mucosa innermost layer which contain gastric glands which secrete gastric juices. Very important point should be important. Mucosa is innermost layer which contain gastric glands and it secretes gastric juices. So mucosa simpler columnar cell, it has absorptive and secretory function. In mucosa layer there is a presence of gastric glands which secrete gastric juices like enzyme is pepsin and acid is hydrochloric acid. What is gastric juice? Combination of hydrochloric acid and pepsin enzyme. In mucosa, there is a presence of gastric pits. I'm showing the image in the next slide. In mucosa, there is a presence of gastric pits, which is a microscopic funnel-shaped invasion in the stomach lining that act as a opening for gastric gland. Some place is needed, na? Some invasion is needed. So, which is for opening of gastric gland. So, it is known as a gastric pits hole means act as a opening for gastric glands. So this gastric pits which is opening for gastric glands secrete gastric juice which is important for digestion. So gastric pits are the entrance, are the place to the stomach digestive message. From this place the stomach digestion machinery process take place. Gastric pits, thus opening for gastric glands. So it is present in the mucosa layer. Then there is a presence of rugae. I said you when the stomach is full and when it is empty. So fold in the mucosa is known as a rugae that expand when the stomach fills with blood. Fill with when you eat, when you fill with food. Next layer is submucosa. Submucosa is made up of connective tissue. I have shown the image. Then I'm going to show you the image in the next slide also. So submucosa is a connective tissue. So what is the function of connective tissue? It provides support and it provides structure for the mucosa. So it is made up submucosa, made up of loose areolar connective tissue. It has blood vessel, nerves, and lymphatic vessels. So it help in nutrient absorption, nerve impulses, and it has lymphatic vessels. So lymph means it give you immune, it makes your immunity strong. Next is the muscularis externa, which is made up of voluntary smooth muscle layers that contract and relax to churn, to break down the food, to mix the chyme. So there is a peristaltic movement take place also in the stomach. Then next is a serosa outermost layer, a very thin protective layer that covers the stomach, and it is also made up of smooth connective tissue, slippery surface, and it has very important point. Serosa has peritoneum, a continuous with the peritoneum, which is the lining of the abdominal cavity. What is a peritoneum? I'm going to explain you. So serosa has peritoneums, continues with the peritoneum, the lining of the abdominal. Peritoneum is the lining of the abdominal cavity. So look at the image: surface epithelium, lamina propria, muscularis mucosa, submucosa, muscularis externa, serosa. These are the layers it consists of. And then there is a presence of parietal cell, gastric pit, which from where the entrance of gastric juices, gastric gland, chief cell, endocrine cell. So there is a presence of parietal cell, chief cell, endocrine cell in the stomach layers. So parietal cell are the present in the stomach, especially within the gastric gland of which part? Fundus part. Fundus part. Parietal cell present in the fundus part, and parietal cell, remember, it secrete HCl. Parietal cells secrete hydrochloric acid, and hydrochloric acid is very important for digestion, and it also very important secrete a intrinsic factor which is essential for vitamin B12 absorption. Kindly the student note down parietal cell found in the fundus part of your stomach. secrete hydrochloric acid, and another one is the intrinsic factor which is responsible for vitamin B12 absorption. So parietal cell produce hydrochloric acid as acid that help in break down food, and hydrochloric acid activate different enzymes like pepsin, and hydrochloric acid also kill different types of bacteria. Now next is the chief cell. It is also found in the stomach. It is in the found in the again in the fundus part of a stomach within the gastric glands. Parietal cell also within the gastric glands in the fundus part of stomach. Chief cell also in the gastric glands within the fundus part of stomach. And most important things, this is found in the stomach and parathyroid gland also. Chief cell not only found in stomach, it is also found in parathyroid glands. So what is the function of chief cell in stomach? It is a gastric chief cell, and gastric chief stomach chief cell is known as a gymogenic or peptic cell. Points should be noted. Gastric chief cell is known as gymogenic or peptic cell, which is responsible for producing secreting digestive enzymes. Name is inactive pepsinogen and gastric lipase. So it secrete pepsinogen, a precursor of to the digestive enzyme pepsin, and gastric lipase. Chief cell also found in the parathyroid gland, which act as a parathyroid glands which regulates calcium levels in the blood, calcium potassium levels in the blood. Now, very important point, student, kindly note down chief cell. Some chief cell are used in plasticity. Plasticity, what is the meaning of plasticity? It means it acts as a reserve stem cell and can be reprogrammed into other types. Stem cell video I have already made, kindly watch that video. So plasticity, some chief cell can act as a reserve stem cell and can be reprogrammed into different type of cell types, such as a spam cell under certain condition like acute injury. Now next in the stomach, there is a presence of enteroendocrine cell which is known as G cell. Stomach enteroendocrine cell release gastrin, stimulate gastric acid secretion, help in digestion, nutrient absorption, metabolism, and even immune responses within our gastrointestinal tract, within our gut. So, stomach enteroendocrine cell are the largest endocrine system in the body. Points should be noted. Stomach enteroendocrine cell are the largest endocrine system in the body and are found throughout the GI tract. Very important point, kindly note down. So stomach enteroendocrine cell are scattered throughout the GI tract from your stomach to the colon, with the highest density in the more amount present in the small intestine. They are typically found in the intestinal crypts and intestinal villi, interspersed among other epithelial cell also. So they synthesize and secrete different types of hormones and peptides, include secretin, cholecystokine, glucagon like peptide 1, and many others. So their secretion are secretin, cholecystokine, glucagon like peptide, and many others. These are very important points, kindly note down. So about endocrine cell, EEC, it's a enteroendocrine cell, which is a specialized cell in your digestive tract, which is act as a sensor of intestinal environments. It consists of diverse group of cell. The cell are G cell, I cell, K cell, L cell, D cell. EEC, endocrine cell, it consists of diverse group of cell, that is a G cell. G cell found in your stomach, which help in releasing gastrin and which stimulate gastric gland secretion. So EEC, what is? EEC is enteroendocrine cell. Stomach, so stomach enteroendocrine cell secretes different kind of cell, G cell, I cell, K cell, L cell, D cell. So G cell stimulate gastric cell secretion, I cell release CCK, which cholecystokinolones, which stimulate pancreatic enzymes and bile secretion, and it promotes satiety, means satisfaction. K cell release glucose dependent insulinotropic polypeptide, which stimulate insulin secretion. So K cell located in the small intestine, I cell located in the small intestine, but G cell present in your stomach. L cell again present in small and large intestine that release GLP-1, which help in stimulating insulin secretion, inhibits glucagon secretion, and promotes satiety. D cell, D cell is the only cell which is found throughout the gastrointestinal tract from mouth to the NS. So they release somatostatin, which inhibit the release of other hormones. So it is very important point. Note down D cell throughout the GI tract, I cell and K cell in the small intestine, L cell both in a small and large intestine, and G cell in the stomach, and their function is given. Kindly write down and note down. It is the image serosa, submucosa, muscularis, blood vessel, mesentery, nerves. These are all the images of layers of the stomach. Now, Rugi, which I told you, the fold or wrinkles present on the internal surface of organ and tissue. It's not only present on your stomach, it's present in different parts of body also. So, Rugi is referred to the fold in the stomach lining. It is also present in your mouth, palate, or vagina also. So, gastric Rugi, when it found in the stomach lining, so function is the, it flatten as the stomach when you eat, allowing it for expansion, help in the breakdown of food. In your palatal rugae, which is find your own palate, so in your mouth, behind the incisive papillae, so they are unique to different to each individuals, and can be palatal rugae is used in forensic identification, particularly in the case where teeth are missing in crime scene. Palatal rugae is used in forensic identification. Vaginal rugae gives flexibility during childbirth and other function. So rugae found in different organs also, in gallbladder, urinary bladder also, which help in their contraction and expansion. Peritoneum is a thin membrane, which I said you to explain you, a thin membrane which is lining the abdominal cavity, covers the stomach as part of the visceral peritoneums. So this layer fold around the stomach, connecting it to other organ, abdominal organ and abdominal wall. So its function is to support the stomach, provide a conduit environment for blood vessel, nerves, and preventing friction between different organs. So it is of type visceral peritoneum, peritoneal cavity, lesser omentum, greater omentum. So visceral peritoneum directly covers the stomach and other abdominal organs. So it is called visceral. Visceral means blood vessel. So it peritoneum line the abdominal wall is the peritoneum anatomium. Peritoneum. Now, next is the parietal peritoneum. Parietal peritoneum line the abdominal wall. Visceral peritoneum directly covered the stomach and other abdominal organ. It is about the visceral peritoneum. Parietal peritoneum line the abdominal wall. Peritoneum cavity, space between the visceral and parietal peritoneum, which is filled with lubricating fluid to give lubrication. Then there is a presence of double layer, which is known as a lesser peritoneum, which connect the stomach. Lesser omentum, very important point. Lesser omentum help in double layer. It is a peritoneum, which connects the stomach to the liver and duodenum. It has also important blood vessel nerves. Greater omentum, a large apron-like fold of peritoneum hanging down from the stomach. The greater omentum contains fat, blood vessel that help protect and support different types of abdominal organs. So what is the function of peritoneum? What is peritoneum? Peritoneum, a thin membrane which is lining the abdominal cavity, which cover the stomach as part of the visceral peritoneums. It is a thin layer folds around the stomach, which is help the stomach to connect to other abdominal organ and abdominal wall. So function is to provide a structural support and act as pathway for different different blood vessel and nerves. It also plays in important role in providing you good immunity. So visceral peritoneum, parietal peritoneum, and a greater omentum and lesser omentum, which explain you omentum, a fold of peritoneum expanding from stomach to the adjacent abdominal organs. Lesser omentum, a double layer of peritoneum that extend from liver to the lesser curvature of a stomach and proximal part of duodenum. So it consists of hepatogastric and hepatoduodenal ligaments. So omentum is a fold of peritoneum. So extend from stomach to adjacent abdomen nearby abdominal organs. And lesser omentum is a double layer, so which extend liver to the stomach and proximal part to the duodenum. So because of this, it contains hepatogastric, hepatoduodenal ligaments. Greater omentum is a quadrupedal layers, four layer of peritoneums, and it consists of gastrosplenic, splenorenal, gastrocolic ligaments like that. So it has greater curvature of a stomach, and a proximal part of duodenum covering the last part of large intestine, that is a transverse colon and other abdominal viscera. So falciform ligament, I explained you already, that is connect liver to anterior abdominal wall. So it contains the ligament teres hepatitis. It is an embryological remnant of left umbilical vein of embryo. About arterial supply of a stomach, the artery supplies of a stomach are left gastric artery, so it receive the arteries oxygenated from blood from left gastric artery, right gastric artery, a branch of common hepatic artery, then a right gastric artery, left gastro epiploic artery, a branch of splenic artery, right gastroepiploic artery, a branch of gastroduodenal artery, short gastric arteries. So these are the arterial supply which comes to the stomach. About venous drainage, deoxygenated blood drainage. The vein of the stomach respond to the arteries and drain directly or indirectly to the portal vein. Portal vein, I have explained you in the short also. So the vein of the stomach are left gastric veins. Is not directly portal veins means deoxygenated blood is not directly go back with the pulmonary circulation to the heart. Portal veins, it is goes not it indirectly to the portal veins. The vein of the stomach respond to the arteries and drain directly or indirectly. It may drain directly or indirectly to the portal vein with the help of left gastric vein, right gastric vein, left gastropyptonic vein, short gastric veins. So right and left gastric veins are drained directly into the portal veins. So portal vein means it is not directly passing the digestive deoxygenated waste into the human hearts. So this left gasoephyluric and short gastric veins drain into spleen vein, and right gastroepilog vein empties into the superior mesenteric vein. The stomach muscles are seldom inactive, it is always active. The amount of food in the stomach determine the amount movement of a stomach, how much it is active. It depends upon its expansion, contraction. So as soon as the food enters into your stomach, the stomach muscle relaxes momentarily. Thereafter, the stomach muscle start contracting. So there is a periodic contraction, relaxation, help in the churning of food, kneading of food, and that's semi-solid mixture formed, which is called chyme. So the rhythmic and periodic peristaltic movement of a stomach result in the movement of food toward the pylorus and then to the first part of the small intestine, that is duodenum. So this cycling and rhythmic movement of stomach muscle and the involvement of that muscle which help in the peristaltic movement and rhythmic contraction, relaxation of movement of a chyme into the first part of stomach, that is small intestine, that is duodenum. The muscle involved is gastric MMC. Very important point. The muscle which is involved in cycling and rhythmic movement of a stomach muscle are known as gastric MMC, migratic motor complex. There are also various secretion of stomach during this cycle, rhythmic movement of contractile relaxation of muscle, which help in converting food bolus into chyme. So these secretion include dilute hydrochloric acid solution of hydrochloric acid, approximately 0.16 normal. Proteolytic enzymes name is pepsin, and minor quantity of other enzymes like renin and gastric lipase, and other is mucins. So these are about the, we have learned about the structures of another anatomy of stomach, and then about different types of enzymes involved in digestion. So the next video I'm going to explain about biliary tract. So kindly watch this part 3 gastrointestinal tract also. Thanks for watching. Stay consistent. Stay consistent. Do hard work. Best of luck for your future exam. Thanks for watching.